Starting a MyGM series here in WWE 2K24. WWE will be ran by Stephanie McMahon, ECW will be ran by Paul Heyman, and we will be controlling WCW led by Eric Bischoff. Now that we have the three managers set, we are ready to get into the draft here. We will be playing with a $2.75 million salary. As you see the draft rules there, and here is our pool of superstars that we will be picking from. WCW does have the #1 overall pick in this draft. As you see, we're sifting through all of the superstars we can pick from, and the question is, who will we select at #1 overall? So we are just about set here to get this thing going. #1 overall is none other than CM Punk. This was a pretty easy choice when I looked at the pool of superstars. I thought about Seth Rollins, but there was no Roman Reigns, no Cody Rhodes, and I felt like CM Punk, for his salary, how much he was asking for, and his popularity. He has 5 of 5 on the promo skill. I felt like this was a pretty easy choice for the first overall pick, and I just wanted CM Punk. He was just added to the game, so why not get one of the newest superstars in Punk? As ECW will be picking second in this draft, and they will be selecting none other than, wait for it, The Miz, #2 overall. So ECW goes a little bit more budget friendly with the second overall pick. I don't mind this one though. He's always a very reliable person to have in real life and in my GM, so not a bad pick. Maybe a little high for the second overall, but you'll see the computer. They all have different drafting strategies, and ECW going with a little bit more of the budget pick #2 is certainly not bad. So Raw will be picking third in this draft, and let's see who they decide to go with the #3 overall pick, and they go with Bayley. So they get the first women's superstar off the board here at #3. Always a very, very solid pick, and you're getting one of the most popular superstars in the draft in Bayley at #3. A woman that you can build your whole women's division around with the third pick. So not a bad first pick by Raw either. As we head back now to the draft board, the first round is done. And for this pick, I was really going to go with the women's superstar. My first two picks, I always like to go one male and one female to kind of be the pillars of those divisions. And I was picking between a couple, but it was a pretty easy choice here for me. It was going to be none other than Rhea Ripley, one of my favorite superstars currently. It was really hard to pass her up whenever she is listed on the draft board because I just love her. She's one of my favorite superstars in real life. Well, you know what you're getting with Rhea Ripley. Again, we're going to get a pillar of our women's division, and I always love having one male, one female that you can really build around, and CM Punk and Rhea Ripley are certainly that for us. And I'm feeling really, really good about the first two picks of our draft overall. And so now we have to get into the rest of this second round with ECW coming up next. And let's see who they decide to go with their second round pick. And they go with Alexa Bliss. So they do what we did, go one male and one female to build your division around. They go with The Miz in the first round, Alexa Bliss in the second round. I really like this pick for ECW. I feel like Alexa Bliss fits in well with ECW. I don't know why, I just feel like she does kind of fit in well with Extreme Championship Wrestling and everything they do. So I really like this pick for ECW. Felt like it was pretty on brand overall. Now we head to the 6th pick here in the draft. Raw went with Bayley in the first round at the 3rd pick. And with the 6th pick, they will be going with none other than Prince Pretty himself, Tyler Breeze. Now, every time I play my GM mode, Tyler Breeze is always drafted really high. They always seem to give him good stamina, good popularity, good mic skill, all of that. He's just very solid. He always seems to go in probably the first 3 rounds of any my GM that I play. And look, he's one of the reasons why my GM came back, let's be honest, with up, up, down, down. So really like this pick for Raw. Always happy to see Tyler Breeze get drafted. As we head now to round number 3, it goes pretty quickly here. And I was looking for kind of a middle tier person with this pick and ended up with Braun Breaker. I really like this pick. Looking back at the whole draft after I finish, I felt like this was probably my best pick overall as far as value. I really like this pick for us here in the 3rd round. I wanted a guy who could complement CM Punk, and Braun Breaker's style certainly does that. You always want to look for the pairing of styles between bruisers and fighters or whatever the case may be, because you get that added bonus. And so when I'm looking at Braun Breaker, he can really complement CM Punk well. We have 2 guys who can really spearhead our heavyweight championship race. As you see, Braun Breaker here and all of his overalls. Certainly not bad, $227,000 salary. I will take that for Braun Breaker. Moving on to the 8th pick here in the draft. It's ECW, and they are going to go with Tamina here, number 8. A little bit of a surprise pick. I feel like ECW has been, I don't know, they've been a little bit more cost conscious. I definitely feel like the computer is always more cost conscious than I am in these drafts. They tend to really just kind of maybe not go for it as much early, but they tend to get more people on their roster, and we'll see how that plays out throughout the draft as Otis goes with the 9th pick here to Monday Night Raw. Pretty solid pick for Raws. We're right back on the board here in round number 4. See your roster so far: CM Punk, Rhea Ripley, and Braun Breaker. Feel really good about that. I did want to go with a woman here with this pick to have with Rhea to, again, spearhead our women's side of our roster. Asuka's still there, Charlotte's still there, Nikki Cross if we wanted to go a little bit more budget friendly, but I decided to go with Asuka, and I really was having trouble with this pick because, again, I wanted someone who can hang with Rhea Ripley, and I didn't want to really spend all too much on someone with this pick, but I figured with Asuka, we have 2 really strong women, and with the women's division only having 2 belts instead of 3, I'm okay with getting a little bit more top heavy with our women's division. So I went ahead and went with Asuka, and I'm okay with that. So I'll go ahead and go through these rounds a little bit quicker now as ECW goes with Logan Paul here. I did like this pick for ECW. I always feel like he's another one who's pretty good. He has really good promo skills. So I did like this pick for ECW here. And when you get in the middle of the draft, again, it seems like the computer, sometimes they like to go a little bit more cost friendly early and then get some bigger names on the back end and fill out their rosters a little bit more complete. And so Logan Paul, a solid pick here for ECW. And then Raw goes with Tommaso Ciampa. Raw's draft has been pretty interesting so far. I haven't necessarily hated it, but it all depends on how you book all of these guys. The draft is just the first part of the process. So we'll see how WWE and Stephanie McMahon book all of these guys going forward here. Now we get back up to our pick here, and I was looking more at the bottom salaries at this point because we have went pretty heavy with our first 4. I was looking at MVP here. 4 of 5 promo skill for his salary is pretty good overall. I was looking for someone in like the 200,000 range and ended up going with Damian Priest. Now just ignore the briefcase in the title because for some reason he has that in my roster right now. But we decided to go with Damian Priest because I wanted another heel that could go well with CM Punk, who's a babyface in the world title picture. And so I decided Damian Priest was the man for that. He's around the 230, 240,000 range. So right in that middle tier. And ECW then followed it up with Luke Gallows. Really interesting pick here overall, but he does have a really high level. He's a level 10. Him and Carl Anderson both are level 10, so not a bad bang for your buck in Luke Gallows. And then Raw follows it up with Nikki Cross. Didn't mind ECW or Raw's draft so far, honestly. Every time I do one of these, I look back at the computer's rosters, and I always end up really liking them. And Nikki Cross is another really solid pick. The only pick I didn't like the computer did so far was probably Luke Gallows, but he's not bad, honestly, especially considering he's a level 10 for his salary. We're up with the 16th pick here in round number 6, and this one was an easy one. I was going to go with Knight. Yeah, easy pick for me here. I wanted a kind of middle card slash higher card babyface that I could work into maybe that main event scene over the course of the season. And LA Knight, again, in that about 225-ish thousand salary range. I really like this pick for us here in round number 6. ECW followed up with Dijak, and I'm a big Dijak guy, so I was pretty cool with this pick. Again, I think ECW picked some guys that were kind of like on brand for ECW, which I always really like and really enjoy. I don't know if Logan Paul is ECW on brand, but Dijak certainly is. I really like Dijak. And then Raw followed it up with Valhalla as they continue to put resources into their women's division. Not a bad strategy, but with it only having 2 titles in that division instead of 3, I'm always a little weary of doing that. But we probably went a little bit too light in our women's division, and they went pretty heavy on it. Now, for this next pick, I was looking through all of the Giant class and decided on Josh Briggs. I was really trying to convince myself to go with Gunther or Ivar, but I didn't want to go with that highest salary because I've already gotten so many high salary people. And I really like Josh Briggs, and I wanted to get a Giant because I like to have some variety in my classes as well. I know Giants don't like go with brawlers, you don't get that bonus, but I like to have variety in like my mid card to lower mid card class. And there were some cruiserweights that I was going to target later in the draft, so I wanted to grab a Giant here, and Josh Briggs was our selection. Now we're back with ECW here, and they decide to go with Cruz del Toro. Raw follows that up with Ludwig Kaiser, and we're right back on the clock here in round number 8, and we decide to go with Dominic Mysterio. I said I was going to go cruiserweight. I had one in mind. Dominic was one of them. Stay tuned for maybe another one or two later in this draft. ECW then followed it up with Mikan. I hope I said that right. I've been corrected once before in my comments section. And then Dexter Loomis after that for Monday Night Raw. Now, I did want to go back to our women's division because we only have 2 women right now. We have 6 men and 2 women, and obviously we want more than that. So I was looking through all of the women here. I wanted someone who could match up with Asuka or Rhea Ripley. I looked at Chai Lee here. I did really like her. I was also looking at Wendy Chu as well, and I was even taking some of the game's recommendations. They recommended Wendy Chu and Candice LeRae, as well as Ivy Nile and Shayna Baszler, and we decided to go with Wendy Chu. I liked her promo skills as well as some of the other attributes that she had, which I'll show here in a second. And again, I wanted someone that could go with Rhea Ripley or Asuka, and Wendy Chu can go with Rhea Ripley. So wanted someone to go with her besides Asuka, so ended up with Wendy Chu. Really liked this pick, very solid, not a bad salary. She was 180,000. The promo skill can certainly get a little bit better, but I really like the 81 stamina. That allows us to get her in some matches and hopefully get her popularity up as ECW goes with Isla Dawn. Raw counters with Wolfgang. Like that pick for Raw. We are now in round number 10. And we're looking through here. I was looking through the Bruiser class at this point because I wanted someone to counter Asuka, and was looking at Ivy Nile, also looking at Fallon Henley here, as well as Nikita Lyons. Some really nice choices overall, and I ended up going with Nikita Lyons. I really like the 3 out of 5 promo skill on her, and I think that we can get her popularity up with that promo skill. That's definitely something to work with there. ECW in round 10 goes Zoe Stark, and Raw counters with Indy Hartwell. As you see, we have $324,000 for our last 2 picks. Now, you don't have to make these picks, but I always do like to make them because I like our roster to be as rounded out as possible, and having that depth is important to me. So I wanted to make sure we had these picks taken care of, but also had enough where we can run a show. So I was looking through the lower salary people here, and to me, this ended up being a pretty easy choice. After I looked through all of them, it was Carmelo Hayes for us, and ECW followed that up with Tiffany Stratton. Raw then went with Nathan Frazier, and we are into round number 12. Carmelo Hayes for us, I thought was a really solid pick. He was one of the guys that I was targeting when I was talking about wanting a giant for the cruiserweights. And he's a really low salary. He's like 150,000, give or take. So I really like that pick for us. I'm hoping he can be kind of a younger prospect that we can develop over the course of the season. As our draft is now complete, we finish it up with Damon Kemp in round number 12. As you take a look at our top superstars there, I feel really, really good about the top of the class that we got. And I'll kind of summarize the draft here in just a moment. I'm going to let the computer kind of finish it out. ECW takes Ilya Dragunov. Love that pick in round 12. Raw goes Ivar. Really like that pick as well. ECW goes Santos Escobar in round 13, and that will finish up their draft. Really nice draft from ECW, and then Raw was complete as well. They went Tyler Bate with their last overall pick. So that is the draft, and the draft is one of the most important parts of the whole MyGM mode. Now, it's not the most important. You do have to book these people to get more popular and have momentum and all that good stuff. But I thought that all three brands had a pretty solid draft overall. I really liked our draft. I felt like we got a pretty good mix of different types of classes. We got giants, we have cruiserweights, we have bruisers, we have pretty much everything. I really like some of the guys we got at the top, getting guys like CM Punk and LA Knight and Damian Priest and Braun Breaker on the men's side, and then Rhea Ripley and Asuka on the women's side. I really, really liked. If I could go back and change one thing on this draft, I probably would focus a tiny bit more on the women's division, but I don't necessarily know who I would sub out to draft someone for that, because I really like where we got Dominic Mysterio and Josh Briggs and LA Knight. So overall, I feel really good about our draft. Now, the next episode in this series, we will be starting the booking, starting the fun part of MyGM, trying to make it all the way to the WWE Hall of Fame. This will be a long-term series here on the channel, so please do stick around for this. It is going to be a ton of fun playing through this mode with you all. Let me know what you thought of our draft in the comment section below, and who you think won the draft. Was it Raw? Was it ECW, or was it us, WCW? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'm really looking forward to playing through this with you all. It's going to be a ton of fun. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, episode 2 will be dropping very shortly here in the MyGM series, so stick around for that, and I will see you guys in the next video.